Once upon a time, in a vast and vibrant jungle, lush and teeming with life, there lived a mighty lion named Leo. He was the king of all he surveyed, his golden mane catching the sun's light and shining like a crown. His powerful roar echoed throughout the jungle, striking fear into the hearts of the other creatures. The very ground would tremble beneath his massive paws as he prowled the forest, the leaves whispering stories of his strength. Despite his rule over the jungle, Leo was a king who believed in justice and fairness. He hunted only when he was hungry, not for sport, and never hurt those weaker than him unless he needed to. Yet, his fierce look and intimidating roar meant that many smaller animals lived in fear of him. One such creature was a tiny mouse named Mimi. Mimi was a kind and gentle soul, quick and nimble, but small and delicate. Her home was a humble burrow in the roots of a grand old tree. She spent her days scampering through the jungle, collecting food, and playing with her friends. One day, as Mimi was busy gathering nuts, she scurried over a rock that wasn't a rock at all. It was the back of the sleeping Leo. Startled, Mimi's heart pounded like a drum, and she tried to escape. But in her hurry, her tiny paws slipped, and she woke Leo up. Annoyed at being disturbed from his sleep, Leo roared and, in a flash, caught the trembling Mimi in his huge paw. He looked at the tiny creature squirming in his grasp. In that moment, the mighty king of the jungle could have crushed Mimi without a second thought. But Mimi, despite her fear, gathered all her courage and spoke up. Her voice was so soft it was barely a whisper.
"Please let me go,"
she pleaded.
"I didn't mean to disturb you, Mr. Lion. If you let me live, I promise to repay your kindness someday."
Leo was amused. He looked at Mimi and then let out a thunderous laugh.
"You want to help me?"
He roared, his laughter echoing through the jungle. But Leo was not cruel, and seeing no harm in it, he gently released the trembling mouse.
"Very well,"
he said, his voice softening.
"You're free to go, little one."
Mimi, relieved and grateful, thanked the lion and scampered off into the undergrowth, her tiny heart still pounding from her encounter. That night, she went to sleep dreaming of her promise, wondering how she, a tiny mouse, could ever be of help to the mighty king of the jungle. Weeks turned into months, and life in the jungle continued as usual. The memory of her encounter with the lion slowly faded, but Mimi never forgot her promise. One day, a strange and troubling sound echoed through the jungle. It was Leo's roar, but it was filled with fear and pain, not anger or might. Mimi's heart skipped a beat. She remembered her promise and, without thinking twice, set off towards the sound. When Mimi arrived, she found a terrible sight. Leo was trapped in a hunter's net, his mighty body ensnared. He roared and thrashed, but the more he moved, the tighter the net became. His eyes were filled with fear, and for the first time, the king of the jungle looked weak and vulnerable. Without wasting a moment, Mimi sprang into action. She was small, but she was also brave and quick. Using her sharp little teeth, she started gnawing at the ropes of the net. Leo looked at her, surprised and grateful. Time ticked by, but Mimi kept gnawing, her tiny heart pounding with determination. The ropes were tough, and her jaw ached with the effort, but she didn't stop. She knew she had to help her friend, no matter what. The sun started to dip below the horizon, casting long shadows over the jungle. All was silent, except for the sound of Mimi's tiny teeth against the rope. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, the last rope snapped, and Leo was free. Leo rose slowly, shaking off the remnants of the net. He let out a mighty roar that echoed across the jungle, a roar of relief and joy. He turned to Mimi, his eyes soft with gratitude.
"You kept your promise, little one,"
he said, his voice gentle.
"You saved me." Thank you.
Mimi looked up at the mighty lion, her tiny heart filled with pride.
We all need help sometimes,
She said, her voice barely a whisper.
no matter how big or small we are.
From that day on, Leo and Mimi became the best of friends. They spent their days exploring the jungle together, and every creature in the jungle could see the strong bond between them. The story of the lion and the mouse spread far and wide, a tale of courage, friendship, and the power of a promise. And so, each night, as the sun set and the stars began to twinkle, the jungle was filled with the sounds of a mighty lion and a tiny mouse, laughing and playing, their friendship a reminder that no act of kindness, no matter how small, is ever wasted. And that, dear child, is the end of our tale. Let the story of Leo and Mimi inspire you to be brave, kind, and always ready to help others, no matter how big or small the task may seem. Remember, we all have the power to make a difference, just like Mimi did. Good night, little one. May you have sweet dreams and wake up to a beautiful new day, filled with bravery and courage.